Hey, Accelerated Algebra, a quick reminder to make sure that you have already tried these on your own and that you're taking really good notes because you'll be allowed to use these on your final progress check. Okay, today's all about linear, solving equations, writing equations of lines, graphing, and so on. For this one, we're just solving this equation. There's a couple ways to go about it. One thing that makes this easier, can make it easier, is if you multiply both sides of this equation by 3. And that will get rid of any fractions that we have to deal with. Then we're left with 24x minus 24 on the left side. And on the right side, we've just got 2 times x minus 12. Make sure that you didn't multiply accidentally by 3 twice or something. All right, like terms, combine all the x's on one side and all the constants on the other. So I'll add 24 to both sides, and I'll subtract 2x from both sides. We've got 21x equals 0, so x equals 0. For these, you had to fill in the equations or choose the correct equations. So we'll start with A. Remember here we've got a y-intercept of 0, and then the slope goes up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. So this is going to be 3x. You could say 3x plus 0, but just 3x is fine. Remember that when we're going this way, that's positive slope. This way, negative slope. Horizontal line, 0 slope. Vertical line is undefined slope. Okay, so for graph B, we can see that's going to be a negative slope. The y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to have y equals something times x plus 5. And I can see the slope goes down 1 over 2. So that's a slope of negative 1/2. And I'll squeeze in the x there. Line C has a 0 slope, so you could write this as y equals 0x plus 3. Or just y equals 3 is more common. Now D is an undefined slope. Notice that every single point on this line has an x-coordinate of negative 2. So that's negative 2, 0. That's negative 2, 2. And every single point has an x-coordinate of negative 2. So the equation is just x equals negative 2. That's the vertical line, undefined slope. Okay, there are several ways to solve this one, but I think the easiest way is to go ahead and cross multiply, which we can do when we have a proportion like this. So I'm going to do 3 times x plus 1 and 2 times 2x minus 3. And I've got x equals 9. To write the equation with the line in slope-intercept form, of course I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. Let me go ahead and do the slope first. My slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or you might just think of it as change in y over change in x. So if I do the y values, so I'll do negative 3 minus 9. That's my change in y. And my change in x is 2 minus negative 4. So I've got negative 12 over positive 6. That gives me negative 2. That's my slope. To find the y-intercept, I can choose either point. I'll go ahead and choose this one. I don't know, it just seems easier. Either one would be fine. So I know my line is y equals negative 2x plus b. And to find that b, I'm going to put negative 3 for the y and the 2 for the x and find the b that makes this true. So I know my b must be 1. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. Okay, make sure that you notice this is perpendicular. And here's my line, x minus 4y equals 8. Let me write this in slope-intercept form so I can see the slope. If I want perpendicular, the slope must be opposite reciprocal. The opposite reciprocal of 1/4 is negative 4 over 1. So I know my line's going to look like y equals negative 4x plus b. And then it has to go through this point to negative 6. So when I put 2 for x, I need to get negative 6 for y. So my b must be 2. That means my full equation is y equals negative 4x plus 2. That's letter C. All right, writing an equation to model this data. So from this equation, it seems like they're telling me this is linear. I can check. I can see that this change in x, this goes up 3. And this goes up 1.5. And then it goes up 1. And this goes up 0.5. So if I look at the ratio delta y over delta x, I can see I've got 1.5 over 3, and that's the same as 1/2. And then if I check the other one, I've got 0.5 over 1, and that's also the same as 1/2. Now I've already gone ahead and found my slope. So my slope should be this choice, 1/2. And then my y-intercept, well, let's just plug in numbers to see what works. So I'll choose this point right here. If I do 1/2 times 1 plus whatever this b is, I know I should get 3.5 out. So that's going to give me 0.5 there. So this must be 3 in order for me to get the y value of 3.5. So for the second choice, we should get 3. Y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, this is about what the slope and the y-intercept mean in context. Be careful with the scale. So notice here we're counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. And here we're counting by 10s. So it looks, if you're counting the boxes, like it goes down 1 over 1. But remember, this is really down 10. And this is really over 2. So my slope is -10 divided by 2. In other words, -5. So the slope is -5. Okay, so something's decreasing. What is decreasing? Well, it looks like the amount of water in the tank is decreasing. So the choice we should choose here is that every time, well, let's see. So as the gallons go down 10, or down 5 in this case, that's the same as -5 over 1. So the gallons go down 5 for each 1 minute. Down 5 gallons 1 minute. So it's going to be the amount of water that drains each minute. All right, now let's look at this y-intercept here. That's 50, 60, 70, 80. So I know my y-intercept is 80. And let's think about what that means. Well, again, looking at the graph, that is at time 0, we have 80 gallons. So let's see, that's the number of gallons at the start. All right, again, we're looking at slope-intercept form. This time we want parallel, so we want the same slope. All right, this one, that's in point-slope form, and I can tell right here, that's the slope. So I don't really have to do any work to find the slope. I know that my line is going to look like y equals 2x plus b. It's got to go through this point 5, 0. So when I put in 5 for x, I better get out 0. This b better be -10. Make sure you got that negative sign there. So I've got 2x plus -10. All right, back to some solving practice. Make sure that you're careful when you're distributing here. So I'll have 3x plus 2x minus 20 equals 5x minus 20. All right, so I've got 5x minus 20 equals 5x minus 20. No matter what I plug in for x, both sides are always going to be the same. So that means all real numbers. Anything I plug in will work here. All right, last one. An item is on sale for 30% off. The sale price is $40.95. So if something's 30% off, that means that you pay 70% of the original. All right, so if I've got the sale price over the original, that should be the same as 70 over 100. That's the way I think about it. There are other ways to think about it. You can go ahead and cross multiply to solve. And this is money, so we're going to say 58.50, letter A. Awesome, so keep these notes and take this review set of questions over again if you need to get 100%. Great job.